Good afternoon to everybody. My name is PG Sittenfeld, and it is a pleasure to be with all of you today and to have the honor of getting to introduce my sister and best-selling novelist, Curtis Sittenfeld. It's a wonderful thing getting to take pride in a family member's accomplishments, but even more than being proud of Curtis, I'm really genuinely looking forward to the opportunity to embarrass her. And for at least the next 3 minutes, I plan to relish watching my sister squirm. Seeing such a big crowd here today reminds me of a talk Curtis gave at Princeton University when I was an undergraduate there. Her first novel, Prep, had recently come out. It was climbing up the bestseller list, and there was a lot of hype and buzz going on around campus. One of the biggest auditoriums at Princeton, with seating for several hundred, was reserved for her talk. So it really was a lot like today's event, except that instead of there being more than 400 people, as there are today, there were 7 people in a room for 300, and 2 of those 7 people were Curtis and me. Yes, a little brother often finds himself awestruck when he has a celebrity older sister. So let me try and give you just a little bit of a glimpse into her celebrity lifestyle. Long before her books had sold 1.6 million copies and been translated into 25 different languages, when she was still just regular Curtis Sittenfeld, not Curtis Sittenfeld, the New York Times best-selling novelist, it wasn't unusual that you might stumble upon her wearing sweatpants, her hair greasy, her breath garlicky, engrossed in a copy of People magazine. But that was then. I happened to encounter Curtis over the recent winter holiday, and now, being the widely known, widely admired writer that she is, I found her wearing sweatpants, her hair greasy, her breath garlicky, engrossed in a copy of People magazine. Curtis, you've come a long way. We're very proud of you. The truth is, Curtis has never forgotten where she's come from, nor has she lost her conscientious touch. Curtis's thoughtfulness explains why before she has a new book come out, she will give my mother, who many in this room know to be one of the most wholesome people on earth, a copy of the book with all of the more raunchy scenes blacked out. This is true. Curtis used to do this for my father as well, though those of you that know him know he is not one of the most wholesome people on earth. So he requested that the sex scenes be left in the copy. Now that I hope I have properly saluted Curtis's past accomplishments, let me conclude by looking forward for just a moment. Many of you may not know that after Sisterland comes out, Curtis already has her next assignment lined up. HarperCollins has asked a number of notable writers to pen modern versions of each of Jane Austen's novels, and Curtis has asked and accepted the task of recreating a modern-day Pride and Prejudice.
Oh, wow.
In case you haven't been able to tell, I love my sister very much. But Curtis, I've read Jane Austen. I've taken a course on Jane Austen. Jane Austen is a favorite writer of mine. And Curtis, you're no Jane Austen. Well, such a sympathetic crowd. While she might not be Jane Austen, in all sincerity, we are incredibly proud of Curtis. We are delighted that a native daughter of Cincinnati has gone on to make such a splash in the world of fiction, and we're thrilled to welcome her back to her hometown as the featured author at the 27th Annual Books for Lunch. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming one of Seven Hills' own, Curtis Sittenfeld.
Thank you. I just said to Petey that could have been much worse. That was probably, if this gives you any context for our family, I think that was like the gentle, classy version. So thank you. I also have to say that there's a few people I have to thank, but with regard to PG, again, just you know, it's sort of hard for us to take each other seriously, but I also feel very proud of you know, how hard PG is working on behalf of Cincinnati, I went to City Hall and got to see his office, which I did think, I can't believe they let PG have an office. PG wears a tie. I don't know, I guess I'll get in one dig. I asked PG how many, I said, do you wear a suit every day? He said, almost every day. And I said, how many suits do you have? And he said, 1.5. But I did, when I came here for PG's election night in 2011, I understood that I was sort of in the twilight of my own glory days, and that I think that, you know, in the past like 5 years, people have said to him, "Are you Curtis Sittenfeld's brother?" And that I think for the next several decades, the question I'm going to get is, "Are you P.G. Sittenfeld's sister?" So, but I think I can happily live with that. I also, of course, I want to thank my wonderful parents, Betsy and Paul Sittenfeld, who, you know, in addition to raising me, have been chauffeuring me around in the minivan and let me stay in the house last night. Of course, I had trouble turning on the shower this morning. My mother ran in and helped me. In my defense, it is kind of a complicated shower. I want to thank, of course, Nick Francis, Chris Garden, Chris Cho, who couldn't be here, and Karen Anderson, and the rest of the Books for Lunch committee. I mean, this really does, for me, the past 24 hours feel like this amazing homecoming, and I think like, oh, I wish I could live inside Seven Hills. And it's to look around the room today. You know, there's so many of you. Of course, there's some of you that I'm always delighted when there are people I don't know, because it helps me feel like I'm a legitimate, real writer, but it's also a pleasure to see people that I've known, in some cases for 3 decades. And I also will tell you, the big logistics that I was talking about in advance of this trip with my dad was, how will we squeeze in a trip to Skyline? And we thought, well, we know there's going to be lunch, Books for Lunch. Will we have room for 2 lunches? Daddy, I don't know about you, but I think I will. It was a good